Hi, I'm Joseph, and I thought as part of the series of tutorials, why not work on something that's really interesting? And that's something about the structure of a song. So, have you ever thought what does it look like? You have a song, but how do you really break it down into some parts that actually make sense in terms of how to build them, how to focus on certain parts of a song? So that's what we'll do today. And let's see after this discussion what some of the interesting things that really come to your mind. Okay, so here we go. So the structure of a song can typically be divided into three parts. You have a starting point, that's called the beginning. Then you have a middle part, that's called the main part. And then you have the final part. And you're always kind of going in this direction through the song, because obviously you got the start, you got the middle. Okay, so we say start, we got the middle part, and we've got the final section. Now think of the starting point as a point where a lot of alignment happens. So what is the composer thinking? What is the performer thinking? They do a lot of alignment with the audience or with themselves sometimes. If you're just playing for yourself, you need not always play for an audience, right? So you're trying to align those initial ideas and those notes with the overall theme of the song. So basically what you're saying is that you're using a few notes, something like let's say you start off with a few notes, something low, something high. You kind of decide a theme, you build some sort of a rhythm around things, and you sort of build on this idea. And initially you're trying to even align yourself and the audience with just those few notes and the overall theme of that song. And then when you move towards the middle part, you're sort of expanding this into different directions. You're taking it in different directions. You're playing with that idea and you're building a story. So some of these notes that you initially started with, they kind of expand in terms of going up and down. You're looking at forming some sort of motifs that are around your main theme. You're bringing in some variations, those kind of things. And as you're doing that, you're basically filling the space with this element and making the whole story sort of come together. So you've got something that's more formed. You're conveying your overall story to the audience, to yourself, and to your co-players, and that's how you're really sort of building this middle part. Now, as you've done that, you sort of try and build and bring that to some sort of conclusion, and that's where your final part comes in. It's basically about building some level of conclusion. Okay, and the idea is that when you bring that, there's a sense of finalization, there's a sense of conclusion, there's a sense of coming of the story together. So you're bringing all these themes, and you're sort of bringing the overall theme into some form of final shape. And in some cases it aligns very well with your initial thought. So you start off with something small, like we talked about here, right? We talked about these pieces, and then you go on to build this middle part, and by the end of it you have something that you have identified, and you kind of end up with something that's a slight variation of what you started with, but that's your finalization part, and that's where the audience and you as a performer come to a conclusion about the piece. So these are the three sections of a song, and you can actually develop them into different parts and build them in a way so that you almost build, like, think of it like a meal. You have a starters, you have a main course, and you have a dessert. You kind of have some sort of a connection between those three dishes, but at the same time they're different pieces, but together they form a complete meal. That's kind of a good way of also looking at a song, because it has to satisfy that creative thirst, as well as the the urge of the audience or the listener to really have a conclusion.